each other succeed.
My computer career actually helped me set up my resume. So with that help, I was able to land a job within the first 4 months of attending school at my computer career.
A few weeks before graduation, though, I landed my first job as a Tier 1 technician with a large insurance company. And 6 months later, I was actually working as a Tier 2 technician with a significant pay raise. And kind of like my first job, they were also very impressed that I had so many certifications.
You have to look at what you want in life and where you're at. For me, my computer career was an easy choice because they offered me a better lifestyle that I really wanted, and it was the only place that would really give me that upper hand in life.
The folks at my computer career are very caring. They really care about our success in the IT industry, not just with certifications, but also with finding a career and really being happy with that choice.
Hello, IT enthusiast. Welcome to another episode of My Computer Careers Get Into IT Live, where we do just that, get into all things IT. And this week, we're going to help you get into IT quite literally. And my guest is here to talk about that. So the title is Your Job Search Questions Answered. When I reached out to our guest and asked for maybe some ideas or thoughts on what she wanted to share, she said, I want to answer questions that you've been asked and that you're hearing and directly comes from your folks. So I thought that was a fantastic idea. So we're going to take a look at a lot of those questions that we hear frequently from you. And just to run through it quickly, why am I struggling to find a job? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? Why am I still not attracting attention from hiring managers? How can I find success transitioning from the military to a career, and just not a career, a rewarding career? They're normal, they're understandable questions that we hear from you as you kind of navigate what can be, and I'm sure my guest will agree, a frustrating path sometimes to find a job, especially these days. So why don't we spend the next 30 digging into some of this with our expert, and let me properly introduce Karen Santiano Francis. First of all, Karen, thank you for joining us. I can't hear Karen at all.
I think Karen, there we go.
There we go. Yep, there we go. Got it. All right. Thank you for joining. Yeah, please. Thank you. And by the way, Karen joined us late in the week. We had a kind of a late cancellation, so extra points. Thank you again. Thank you so much for jumping in. But let me give your bio. Let me paint the picture here. Karen has spent years on the front lines of career transition, working directly with veterans, transitioning service members, and military spouses through organizations like the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, and now Vet Jobs / Military Spouse Jobs, where she teaches job readiness and advises candidates in one-on-one, spends a lot of quality time there. She's a military and family advocate with deep roots in that community, has served as a chapter director for Blue Star Families, was a member of the currently serving spouse council with MOAA, and a family readiness group leader. She's reviewed hundreds of resumes. I'm sure that's more than that at this point. Coached countless job seekers through the process and knows firsthand where job searches go wrong and how to get them back on track, which is why we're all here, right? So Karen, again, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, a little housekeeping as always. Patricia is in the comments and in the chat. So if you have a question for Karen, drop it in. That's how this works best, especially with a conversation like getting into the industry and job advice. I know there are a lot of questions out there, so throw them in here. It's the best way to get them answered. We have a guest that, for better or worse, she is here for 30 minutes and she is live. We have a captive audience. Let's take advantage of that and tap into her knowledge base, because it's extensive. We have a comment from, I think it's Akia over on YouTube. Hello, good to see you as well. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so let's jump right into things with the housekeeping out of the way. Karen, for anyone who isn't familiar, let's just talk a little bit about vet jobs and military spouse jobs. Can you talk about what the organization does for military connected job seekers?
Vet Jobs, Military Spouse Jobs, and I'm going to use a shorthand. I'm just going to call it Vet Jobs from now on, because If we do the whole title, we've only got 30 minutes.
That's right.
It's available to transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses, dependents, and caregivers. We work with them with one-on-one assistance, If they get a career specialist, which we strongly advise, that person works one-on-one with them. We also do live training. So on resumes, why you're targeting, LinkedIn, interview prep, how to do a job fair, how to organize a job search from the beginning, because sometimes we jump in and it's a bit disorganized, which doesn't help.
Right.
We also provide some technical training through Coursera and Skills Build in case they've got a gap somewhere. Because sometimes, especially if you're making a pivot, you're missing that one thing.
Right.
And we try to help them find it, and working with other partners.
So not busy at all. Not at all.
No, not busy at all.
Sounds,
Thousands.
there's a lot you're doing, certainly, and I do love the skills building. That's so important. Sometimes a step that folks overlook in the job search. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Really important. So you mentioned the job search. That's why we're here. Let's dig into some of those common questions that hear on this end, and I'm sure that you hear. You've reviewed a number of resumes over the years. What are those? So I don't like to always lead with the negative, but there are mistakes made on a resume, and I think we got to talk about that. I think we have to be honest.
Yes.
What are those mistakes that you see people making that are maybe quietly killing their chances?
Not tailoring the resume, not mirroring the language that's in the job description. The job description tells you this is what we want.
Right.
Give it to them, and give it to them in the top 1/3 of that resume. You need to only include the information and accomplishments in the jobs that you've had, not putting in the job description from a previous job. But don't put it all in. I have people who have 7-page resumes, and that's way too big.
Right.
2 pages. They're shoving everything in. Well, that employer doesn't care. They care about what they want. If you don't give it to them, and give it to them in their terminology. If they say teach, you say teach, not educate. That is the biggest mistake. Also, people who do what we call spray and pray.
Right.
Which is 50 jobs a day. They're sending the same resume out, which is slightly vague, and they're not getting anywhere because you're not giving that recruiter or hiring manager or whoever what they want, which is somebody who can do what they're asking them to do. That's the biggest mistake we see.
And that's a huge mistake, and it's not. That answer makes a lot of sense, and we've heard it frequently, folks. I mean, take that to heart. Keep tailoring those resumes. But you mentioned, Karen, the 7-page resume, and I get it. That's way too long. I'm assuming anyway. You don't want to do that.
No.
It might be a loaded question. I know it's on our list here, but is there an ideal length for a resume?
It's going to depend on the person sending in the resume. If I've got a person who's been in the military for 20 years and they're trying to cram everything, including their education, certifications, skills, qualifications onto 1 page, that's close to impossible.
Yeah.
2 pages is normal, but the top 1/3 of the resume needs to be the part that grabs that recruiter, that has all of those keywords in it. And let's say there's a certification that's required. If we're going to talk IT, maybe if they're going into working with a contractor, Sec Plus or Net Plus,
right,
or the big beast CISSP. Don't leave it at the bottom of page 2. Put it up there in your summary. Experience augmented by certifications in blank, blank, blank. It's okay to mention them twice. That's fine.
Yeah.
You can even bold them. If it says on that job description, mandatory, must have, requirement, Sec Plus, put it up there where they can see it. Do not be subtle. Subtle resumes don't work. You need to hit them upside the head.
Fantastic. Subtle resumes don't work.
No.
Are we still using a summary these days in the
Yes.
resume? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually 5 or 6 lines.
Yeah.
A lot of times you take parts of that job description and, stir it up a little bit and then put it back on the page. Again, using their words. Because you've got to remember the first person reading that might not understand the job. It's a recruiter or it's an ATS, but it's probably a recruiter who's been
Right.
told, here's a job description and here are the magic words. They wouldn't know a network engineer from Adam.
Right. Yeah.
So being subtle or or using different terminology, that person doesn't understand enough about the job to say, yep, this person's qualified. You got to give it all to them in their words, all of the requirements, all of the qualifications, all of your skills. Don't
Okay.
assume that they will know that because you have a CISSP, you have everything else. Don't assume.
Don't assume. Don't be subtle.
No.
Pay attention for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So you've hit on it a little bit just to make sure we cover it and to be a little positive. Is there anything else that you see that works really well on a resume that you see folks doing?
Yes, your skills in sort of, it looks like a table, little columns with bullets.
Okay.
Again, using that terminology, bold them. You can bold the magic words or the keywords. Absolutely bold them. Because again, you're trying to draw the eye. So why not?
Okay.
Being
All right.
short and pithy, not long and involved, and no fluff, please, no fluff.
I think that we all kind of fall victim to that. When we
Yeah.
don't know exactly how to do something, we try and say it longer as opposed to saying it succincter. So that's good. More
Yeah, that
succinct.
doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't
Yep.
work.
Brandon, I do see your question, and we will put it up here. When looking at a lot of these job descriptions, it seems like never-ending wish list. If you meet the requirements, should you still apply because maybe you have transferable skills that may be attractive?
Absolutely, Brandon. Absolutely. If that requirement is a certification or a clearance, that's not negotiable. Okay. Let's say you are studying for that CCNA and you know that you're going to take the test, but you want to get your application in. You can go ahead and put CCNA parentheses date, in 2 weeks, whatever. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Sometimes you think they're throwing everything against the wall and hoping something sticks. There are ones that are going to be absolutely mandatory. And if you don't have them, don't waste your time and your energy in applying. But if it's just 15 kinds of software and 5 of them are the primary and the other 10 nobody's heard of in the last 5 years, go ahead and apply. Because I have seen some where they still want stuff from 10 years ago that no one uses. Go ahead and apply then.
I'm just thinking of Brandon. He's over on LinkedIn. Are we still? So Brandon applies. Are we following up with that recruiter or hiring manager? Are we doing that these days?
Oh, absolutely.
Phone call, email. What are we doing?
Well, if you have been working with that recruiter after you send him your resume and your cover letter.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm one of those. I like cover letters.
Yes.
Yes, you can follow up with them on LinkedIn. Hey, just sent my resume in for that job. Here's another copy for you. Would love to hear from you. After that, take a look at the end date, the cutoff date. Do not keep bugging that person daily. That's not a good idea. That's called, well, it's not quite stalking, but it's just annoying.
Right.
After it closes, give them a day. Some recruiters will wait until the closing day and then start the slog of going through resumes. Some do it as they come in. You can ask the recruiter, I put in my resume, so when do you think we might hear something? Put that date on your calendar, put it in your spreadsheet that you should have for application, when I sent it, etc. And then follow up with them. Follow up twice. If you hear nothing after 2 follow-ups, keep going. And
Got it.
actually, you should never stop looking. You should never stop applying.
Got it. So, I'm just thinking kind of here to myself as you're talking about that. We've been doing this for 2.5 years, every week, and we've had a lot of folks that have come on and talked about this process. That's the first time I've heard that piece of advice. I think it's a great piece of advice. Wait until the job closes, send a note the next day. That's a perfect time because that person's probably getting inundated. And at that point, maybe they're not getting as inundated and they know you're still interested. That's a smart strategic approach.
Exactly. You don't want to be bugging them, because after a while, you're just kind of like that annoying mosquito.
Right.
And then you get ignored.
And
you
then
want
you're
to be
desperate.
strategic with your follow-up.
Got it. All right. Okay. So speaking of strategy and being strategic, networking is a term that a lot of folks can be uncomfortable with, especially those who are newer to the civilian job market, as you know, as well as anyone.
Mm-hmm.
What is your practical advice for someone who finds networking awkward or intimidating?
Number one, I absolutely hate the word.
Oh.
It's just starting conversations. That's what you're doing. So my practical advice is, when you're about to walk into a networking situation, a job fair or a MOA networking thing, or something at the school you're at, you should have an introduction pulled together. Now, I sometimes call them job fair speeches, or for those of us who remember The Princess Bride, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Fantastic.
So, hi, my name is Karen Francis, and I'm a career coach, and I'm a little nervous today. What do you do? Have something. Have a little bit of a speech pulled together for yourself that you can start with. No, I do not have 6 fingers on my right hand. I don't. But if you can pull together a little something about yourself, and it also depends on the room you're walking into. If you're walking into an IT room, you're going to talk about IT, right? If you're walking into a military networking, you can talk a little bit about what you did. What was your service? If you're a military spouse, hi, I'm a mil spouse. I've been, we've relocated 4 times. What's your record? Something that breaks the ice. And please remember this. You will probably put your foot in your mouth at least once. That's okay. Everybody does it. And remember that everybody else in that room is probably about as nervous as you are.
Mm.
So take a deep breath, have your speech ready, walk in and do it. After the first time, it's going to be easier. That first time really, sucks.
And I'm guessing that's why it makes sense to have as many of those conversations as possible so that you can fail up.
Oh, absolutely.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Try not to find that one person that you really click with and the two of you then go off in a corner.
Yeah.
That's not networking. You need to go from one to another group. You never know who in that room is going to help you get that job, because 70% of jobs are found by people networking.
Yeah. Excellent advice. And also, for you folks who don't like having conversations, that it can be scary, but you have to do it. You have to do it. So we talked about, when we led this off, about the job search can be disheartening, and we certainly understand that. I've heard it. You've heard it many more times than I have. So let's talk about when that search stalls. There are a lot of eager candidates that maybe feel like they've been just sending resumes into the void for months. What's the first thing you tell folks to review or to think about in that situation?
Changing up what you're doing. If what you've been doing is sending resumes in and not making any connections with a recruiter at that place or somebody who works at that company, try that. Try reaching
Okay.
out. LinkedIn's great for that. Maybe you know somebody. Maybe somebody that you used to work with or serve with is at that company. Reach out. Also, sometimes, especially if you've been head down in job search and school and everything else, sounds counterintuitive. Take a break. Walk away for a day. Turn off the computer. Now, I'm not saying don't answer the phone if it rings,
Right, right.
or if you get an email saying, hey, we really want to talk to you, then of course respond. But get away from sitting in front of this computer all day long. Take a break and then shake up the resume. Maybe come to vet jobs, military spouse jobs, or any of the other groups that are there to help you. Your local VA, not just the big VA, but your state VA, your education office, ACS, Fleet and Family, whatever it is. Go there and have them give it a shake. Because sometimes you've just been doing the same thing over and over and over. Something's missing. Maybe we can help you figure out what it is that needs to be changed or shaken.
I love it, and speaking of, something's missing. Everyone's, we've had the conversation, and I think it's good to reinforce the fact that you need to tailor your resume. You have to. And I think it's good to reinforce that you need to follow up after applying, but also to your point, Karen, and do it in a smart way. But our folks often ask if there's any job search advice that folks like you give people that maybe they don't often hear. Is there anything outside of the norm that maybe you would advise folks to do that they're not hearing through this process?
Oh, it's going to depend on where they are in their job search.
Okay.
Have they just started? Well, let's make sure you're organized. I personally think that being disorganized doesn't help because you can't remember, when did I send that resume in? When am I supposed to follow up? You're missing dates, you're missing times, you're missing everything. Networking, yes. LinkedIn, great. But please don't forget other places that you can network. It's not just LinkedIn. It's local job fairs. Job fairs can be horrible. I understand that completely.
Right, right.
Again, it's that networking situation, and then you really want to have your job fair speech put together. And looking in unlikely places. Most people forget the Chamber of Commerce in your city or your town. Guess what? They are full of people who have jobs. Also, if you're a veteran, all of the VSOs, they all have something out there.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. So, pretty good advice there as well, folks. If you're looking for something outside of the norm, I love the idea of going to your local chamber. That's a great idea. Let's talk a little bit about AI. We can't get away from it anymore. It's part of the conversation. I know. Believe me, we're all on the same page, I think. But it's showing up everywhere in the hiring process. It just is, from resume screening to even interviews with AI agents, which is scary. For an old guy like me, that's scary.
Awful.
Yeah. So let's talk about how job seekers should prepare for AI assisted hiring now and into the future.
Well, the resume screening actually is pretty good. Using something like SkillSyncer, where you load the job description and the resume you're going to use into SkillSyncer. and the gerbils run around and the gremlins do whatever, and it will come up and tell you, you match this much of the job description. This is what you're missing. That can really help. Now, there's two kinds of interview AI. There's the one that is the prep, and that can help because sometimes you can't get to Candorful or your career specialist or me doing a one-on-one interview prep.
Sure.
And it will generate questions and sometimes the right answers, which is great. If you're doing an interview prep with an AI, whatever, they're going to ask you industry specific questions. If you've given them the job description and your resume, it's going to ask you the questions you're probably going to get.
Okay.
Now, doing the actual interview with an AI, I find that horrendous, but I understand why they're doing it because, hey, new, bright, shiny object, right? From what I've heard, I've never done one. From what I have heard from people who've done them, it will give you 30 to 60 seconds to basically make a quick note. That is helpful. And I tell people to do that in an interview. Just tell the interviewer, I'm just making a note of your question so I make sure I cover it all. Don't rush. You should look at hopefully the notes you took of when you realized that you were about to be interviewed and about the company, etc. And behave as you would with a real person interview. Hopefully you're not going to get an AI that's very stiff and gives you no feedback.
Right.
But I personally wish they would not do those.
It is as scary as it sounds.
Yes.
Certainly, I think for the two of us, it sounds that way anyway. But if I'm hearing you correctly, what I'm hearing is you want to navigate the process in the same way you would with a human.
Yes.
Just it's a little more disconnected, but that's the way it's going to be. That's where we are in the world. Okay.
Exactly. Put the fact that it's AI out of your mind.
Okay. All right. So speaking of our connected world, obviously LinkedIn is a must, and it comes up all the time. We have to have an updated profile. So can we talk a little bit about, Karen, what people are getting wrong on the platform, but also kind of what they're doing right to break through a little bit?
Absolutely. Getting wrong in your headline, putting things like proud father.
Yeah.
What recruiter is looking for a proud father?
Yeah.
None. Remember that LinkedIn is not Facebook. It is the professional you.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're a proud father, and I'm glad that you're a baseball coach, and I'm glad that you're whatever. Your headline and your about are the chance for you, as I said in a class I gave yesterday, this is where you show off. Okay? This is for you to say, look at me. I really am just that good. You can't do it as well in a resume because it's flat, right? It's 2 pages. And once you send it in, that's it. You can't change it. You can mix up your LinkedIn. You can talk in more depth about your accomplishments. I mean, your about is 2,600 characters. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Your experience, 2,000 characters per experience, so per job or sub-job. Think of what you can talk about. Think about the accomplishments you can talk about. So getting wrong is putting stuff in that is not career focused. Getting right is being able to show off. It's being able to put in those accomplishments. Did you write an article? What was your thesis about? Can you link to it? Show off. because that is your platform to show off as a professional.
It's fantastic. Utilize that featured section, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Dig into that. Brag about yourself.
Oh, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, if you don't, who will?
Yeah.
Oh, and ask for endorsements. Absolutely ask for endorsements. I
That is,
know
it's so hard.
feels
Yeah,
it feels icky, doesn't
it
it? Saying,
does.
but if you ask for an endorsement, just tell them turnaround's fair play. What would you like me to endorse you for? Because if you know this person, you know 8 or 9 things that they're great. Exactly. Write something nice about me and I'll write something nice about you.
Yeah. Carries a lot of weight. It is really hard to do. It's hard
Yes.
for me. I think it's hard for everybody.
It is.
But you see it everywhere. And when recruiters see that, to your point, Karen, it could make a difference in whether or not you move along. I think that's
Exactly.
excellent. Okay. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about military folks and veterans in particular. So let's just go down to second to last question here beyond the resume. What we're talking about, kind of a mind shift, that the mind shift veterans need to make when they enter the civilian job market for the first time. What's that biggest mindset that they need to, that shift they need to make?
Guess what? The
What's that?
first job does not need to be perfect. And it probably won't be.
Hmm.
You do not need to find the absolute, oh my goodness, so perfect, I'm going to stay and do it for 20 years. You already did that. Now, when you get out, a lot, especially if you've been in for a longer time, if you've done one tour and you get out, you're not quite in that mold of 20 years and I've done and I've done. That first job can often be what we call a bridge job.
Mm.
It's a bridge to what you really want to do. Maybe you got out and you went right back into contractor land doing what you were doing before. And you realize after 6 months, I really don't want to do this anymore because suddenly the world's opened up and you've seen all these other things that you could do. Or if you got out and did a 180 pivot and you're starting a new career, well, maybe that first job really isn't exactly perfect. And the first time I remember saying this to a client, I said, you can leave, right? And he sort of looked at me like I'd grown another head or something. He said, yeah, I can leave. I said, yes, you can leave. Because he had gotten a job that he thought was going to be perfect and it wasn't. And he was trying to figure out, should he leave or, how bad would it be if he left? I said, everybody who hires military realizes that first job is often not the perfect one. So don't worry if after 6 months you say, I want out. That is, I think, the biggest mindset difference that I've seen.
So I'm so glad we got to go through that question. I got to talk about it a little bit because it's important and equally as important. I think and I'll get you out of here on this. I'm just wondering, since we have an expert like you here, can you just talk about one thing that you wish maybe every job seeker knew before they started their search? Is there one thing that maybe you're thinking about that maybe we haven't talked about, or maybe we have talked about and you want to reiterate? What's that one thing?
Job search is a marathon. It is not a sprint. I hate that saying, but it's true.
Mm.
And please reach out. Do not sit there and go, I can do this all by myself. You probably can, but it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying that we will make it or any other career person or group is going to make it simple.
Sure.
We can help. Sometimes you need someone with a different set of eyes to look at your resume and go, did you realize that you've been misspelling manager for the past 2 months? Manger. I've seen way too many program mangers.
Oh boy.
But it's also giving you a different perspective. I was talking to someone the other day who's been trying to get this kind of job. And I said, with your experience, have you looked at doing this? It's a little bit left of where he thought he was going to go, but it would be in the same sort of general career area. He was lucky he didn't need a big paycheck. It would be a smaller paycheck, but it would get his foot in the door. I said, have you thought about doing that? And then working up to the big thing that you want. Because sometimes putting those blinders on and saying, I will not accept anything except this, means you're going to have a harder time. So reach out and find somebody to work with. And if you're a veteran, please don't pay for it. There are so many groups that are out here, ours and others, that are at no cost to you. Please do not pay someone to write you a resume.
So speaking of groups to work with, how do folks work with vet jobs, Karen?
They go to our website and they will roll down and you'll see a place that says job seeker. Click on that.
Okay.
Register.
Requirements.
Requirements.
Yeah.
Be a veteran,
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
military spouse, dependent caregiver, or transitioning military. That's the requirements. We will ask for some information. That's, vetjobs.org or militaryspoussejobs.org.
Okay. And just a little plug, we are officially partnered with Vet Jobs, and we'll be moving forward. So that's exciting for us, certainly. So tap into that resource. It's an excellent resource. And obviously Karen and the full team are resources as well. So Karen, this has been a fascinating 36, 37 now minutes. We covered a lot of ground that I don't know that we've covered before. And I think we've reinforced some concepts and ideas that are really important for all of those folks that are in this process and maybe banging their head against the wall or they're so close to breaking through. And my hope and my thought in doing this is we are the conversation that maybe helps that person break through. And
I hope so.
That's the goal of spending a few minutes together every Friday. So I appreciate the time. I would certainly welcome you back and would love to have you back at any point.
Anytime you want me, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For folks, for everyone that tuned in, and I saw that there were a lot of you, thank you. If you have any questions, obviously we've shared Vet Jobs. You know where to find us, and Karen's on LinkedIn. We shared Karen's LinkedIn as well. So check all of those resources out. Most importantly, have a fantastic weekend. Give yourself some grace in that job search. You're going to find the one that's right for you. All right. We will see you here, same time, same place next week. And Karen, if you don't mind hanging for just a sec.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone.